Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Author's Quill. I hope everyone's having a great afternoon, a great morning, great evening, wherever you may happen to be listening to us tonight or this morning. I mean, for us, for me, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. For John, it's 1:15, something like that. It's early for us. For my friends over there in the UK, where it's about 9 o'clock. Yeah, you guys who don't know how to float a boat, give me a break. I'm on the UK, man. Y'all are on my list. Just know it. Y'all are on my list for the next couple of months. What's it? No, there's a lot going on in the world. That's all. And I got a lot of friends over there, so I can pick on them. Yes, and they're good drinkers, which is another big plus. Yeah, Johnny, they are. You can find us on this show. We are on both Roku and on Fire Sticks. You can go see us over there. Yes, and well, the similar formats. It's just the backgrounds are different. No, because I don't have anything to do with that. They make us select a 3,000 by 2,000 banner, which is just a monster, and send it to them, and they can't be the same. So I can't have the same one on Roku as we have on Fire Stick. So it's a different. I mean, you'll recognize it when you see it, but still, they're different. Yeah. So if you like watching someone and you go looking for some of the other, just know it's got a different banner. And for Carl, it does not have the purplish, whitish banner. No, those are no longer. We still use it, but not for that. But anyway, again, welcome to the Author's Quill. Should be joined.
We got to change the lower banner. It says news on the flip side.
Oh, it does. Then we got to delete that out of there.
Yeah.
We can only advertise for the chat. That's only the next show after us. So we can't be advertising for the past. Look at this. I got all kind of stuff in here, man. These hosts are lazy. Oh, I'm telling you what.
Who's ever the host of news on the flip side, man? They should.
That's Jay's job. That's not my job. That's Jay's job.
It's even got a typo on it. News on he flip side.
Oh wait, it had another typo in it. They missed it. They had Russia spelled wrong originally. There's no I in it. And there's people. Grammar doesn't mean squat to us. None of us are authors. That's why we bring the authors on this show. These people, look, they even cheat and use grammar check and spell correct, and they still get stuff wrong. It's insane. I see we have our guest down here, so let's pop him.
Oh, good. Hey, Tim.
There we go.
Hey. Good to see you both.
All right.
Good to see you, Tim. Good to see you again. Yes, with his trademark hat.
Oh, man, good hat's always nice, man. Look, I always like a good hat. I've burned through many like that over the years. Stepped on a few, watched a few get blown off. Somebody took one to it in the middle of a Saints game, right in the middle of the field. I was like, you got to be kidding me, man.
I met Tim at Superstars this last year. Was that just a couple months ago? Actually, just this couple months ago in February. And he was introduced to me by the host of Superstars, Marie Whitaker. She said, this is a guy you definitely want to be able to meet. And so he sent me one of his books. And it was interesting too, because horror hasn't been my soup du jour. And so reading his story, and I was like, wow, okay. And then I read it and I finished it, and I really wanted to have the discussion with him about why is horror so popular and what makes it. So it was a great talk. It's an amazing podcast interview that we did. But anyway, so I'm glad that you're able to make it on here today, so we can even talk more about the genre of horror and what makes it so popular and what does it do? Because to me, I'm like I said when we did our interview, I like the uptick on stuff, and horror doesn't have to have that.
That's right. I always tell people that horror fans, we always get a happy ending no matter what, because if the monster wins, that's great. People win, that's great. If nobody wins, that's great. It doesn't matter. It's all good.
Oh man, that's true too. It really is.
But he wrote this story. It was a novella. It was good because I had 8 books to read coming into Superstars and Life Universe and everything, and I was just going crazy. And I had his coming up 2 days, and I was like, oh man, okay, I got this book to read, and then I went to go, okay, let's just see what Google has to say about it, or see whatever, and it said novella. I said, novella? Whoa, okay, good. Quickly list back so I can read the whole thing. So I was able to read the whole book because it was a novella. So it was the word length I could get through in 2 nights. And so that was good. I'm glad I did. But it's a whole different type of storyline than even dark fantasy. A horror is a definite critter. What makes horror different than dark fantasy, I guess, for one?
That's a real good question because there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
back when the writers were starting the Horror Writers Association, they wanted to call it Howl, the Horror and Occult Writers League, because they were trying to find a way to sort of create an umbrella, to fit as many people in. I think that dark fantasy it's more like some of Clive Barker's work, not like his short stories, but his novels that have like a broader scope to the world or a hidden world. There's, a lot more magic, although it's not like a system exactly. It's more like an unknown on some level. It's just darker in terms of content too. There's some people who will say Sword and Sorcery is dark fantasy because of some of the stories that are told there, and you can make a good argument for that.
Yeah. Is Dracula is like Bram Stoker's Dracula? Is that considered horror or dark fantasy?
I think most people consider it horror. Horror usually has like maybe one intruding element into the real world. So in Dracula, it's just Dracula. He's the only intruding element. There are not werewolves and ghosts and other things.
Unless you got Lois and Costello.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I loved that movie as a kid. Yeah. And I like the way that they played the monster seriously in that movie.
Yeah.
They let the comedians just respond to, and I loved all Abbott and Costello movies when I was a kid. Yeah. But yeah, the fact that it was how they played off the seriousness of them. I thought that was a really good choice.
Yeah. So anyway, so Joe, the novella that I read starts off with this kid looking across the street and seeing his neighbor, I guess it's the dad, that's putting a noose on the tree. It was like Halloween, but he puts the noose on the tree, and then he puts his kid in it, and then kicks the tree off under, and he dies. Right in front of him. Was like, what the heck? And that was like, my opening of that, and that's when I was like, what does Google have to say about this story? Because that's not my particular kind of opener. And then it said novella. So okay, good. Let's finish and see where this goes. And but that was like a crazy opener.
I noticed they don't put much of horror on. They don't make them into audiobooks a lot, like they do with fantasy and sci-fi and a few other. I mean, there's other categories they don't have a lot of audiobooks, but I haven't seen as many. Because I actually went looking at some Stephen King stuff and a couple other things because I do a lot of driving. And it's easy, and I spend a lot of time on computers with the station, so I can listen, which much easier than I can read. I just, reading time is going to something else, usually something, semi-fun. Right. But still, it's easy. But I just haven't found that many. I was looking. Someone had given me this book. Oh God, like 10 years ago, and I finally sat down and read it. Scared the bejesus out. I still can't even remember the name. I'm too scared to go look at the damn book again. I'm not kidding you. It was. Well, I'm not, first off, I'm not a huge horror fan. I mean, unfortunately, I grew up with Freddy and, Halloween and all the rest of them, but maybe that kind of burnt me out a little bit of it. Maybe that's what it was. There was so much of it when I was a kid. So many let's kill and stab and cut you up movies that after a while, they just kind of all ran together, I think. So it's always good when I find like a psychological thriller or just something that just scares the out of you, I mean, It doesn't even have to be that sophisticated. Just a good, healthy scare is always a good thing. And some days I want to think, some days I just want to react. I guess it's just part of being in life. So I appreciate anybody who writes anything good. I gotta be honest.
That's a really good way. I've never heard anybody put it that way. Some days you want to think, and some days you want to react. That's a really good way to put that. I find a lot of horror on Audible. So I don't know if it's just kind of maybe it's not carried every single place or something. I'm not really sure. And I have no idea what the proportion is. I'm sure that compared to thrillers and compared to mystery and stuff like that and science fiction, probably maybe not as many. But I don't ever have any trouble finding anything.
I'll have to look around because, usually I just go on Amazon and find whatever I want. But for some reason, there was just certain things I was looking for that was getting, how can I say it? I was just getting, I guess, commercial horror is the politest way I could say it. And I just wasn't looking for that particular thing. And growing up in New York, there's enough horror stories in the city itself that, it kind of makes you want to look for more sophisticated things sometimes. But there's a lot of scary stuff happening in that city.
Tim, did I ever send you Fear? Because I told you I was going to send you the book Fear, the Hubbard psychological thriller.
No, you didn't, but I found a used copy. It just showed up yesterday. Really nice used copy of the hardback.
Oh, good. It's a
So
good
yeah,
dream.
just
It's
start
considered
reading
like the grandfather of the psychological thriller when that
Mhm.
came out, when it was written originally back there in 1950. It was prior to that, there was slash and gash and type stuff for the horror and the dark fantasy stuff, and then just kind of like put it into the psychological, like, whoa, what's going on? And then you definitely can't guess the ending. It's one of those things that I'm not finding anybody that,
I like that idea, but I can't guess the ending. I got to be
Yeah.
honest with you. Usually, I don't. It sounds like I'm bragging, but usually, if I'm 15 pages into a book, I'm pretty much I got where this is going. That's why I hate watching certain kind of movies, because it really hacks off my wife. We'll be sitting there watching. I said, "Well, this is what's going to happen." She goes, "No, no, no." And then at the end of the movie, she goes, "I hate you." She said, "I just hate you." But I
Yeah,
can't
that was
help
my
it.
family too. It's just there's only like 5 elements in the movie, and you can only put them together in so many ways. So
Yeah.
yeah. So now Tim is also a college professor
That's a fun job.
in Dayton, Ohio, which is,
Mhm.
I used to go to Dayton several times when PulpCon was there. That was run by a guy named Rusty Haviland. And then when he passed, then it went to I went to a couple times in Chicago when it moved. This particular one moved there, but I haven't been back for some years. I went there with Nancy Cartwright, who she's the voice of Bart Simpson. She went to high school there. So I went there with her and we did a show. She did a performance at her old high school. And then she was also the guest conductor of the band, at the marching band at a big high school football game that night when we were there doing the show. But and I had a good friend too that was investigative reporter there out of Dayton. He's now in Florida, but I definitely built some good friends there in Dayton. It's an interesting community.
yeah, it really is, and it has a real vibrant arts culture that a lot of people aren't aware of, especially the people that live here. They
Yeah,
just kind of think it's normal, and I'm like, you gotta understand, it's something special here.
which
I
is
haven't
good.
been
So,
there.
what do you teach there at the university?
I teach at Sinclair Community College, and I teach the basic writing courses, and then I teach creative writing. So like short story writing and novel writing, writing to publish, nonfiction writing. I think that's it.
Well, that's good because they have an unusual situation there than having a professor that actually can profess what he preaches. He can actually, you do it so many times. You go to creative writing, stuff like that, and they've published a short story in a fanzine, and that's their
Mhm.
publishing creds, you know,
Right.
and
Yeah, but that's the ideal. It's what you want. I mean, if you have somebody, teaching any kind of subject, you want them to be a practitioner,
yeah,
if you can. There's
yeah,
some subjects that are probably just pure theory, and that's fine. But
but not creative
yeah,
writing. Art,
no,
creative writing, the arts, you need somebody that actually has practice and knows what they're doing and don't give like BS advice,
Mhm.
so which is what's really good about.
Wait, you can't just say BS advice and not tell us what BS advice is. I'm got people texting me what the hell he means BS advice.
Well, BS advice is like where people, they get into, okay, this is the foreshadowing. You got to watch out all this other stuff here, which you talk to a professional writer, that's not, you're telling a story, and you learn how to tell a story. And a writer becomes a writer by writing, not by rehashing the same story over and over and over and over. And at the end of the semester, you have your short story, so I'm sure, Tim, you've written, how many novels have you published, or stories,
Uh,
novellas, novels?
let's see. In novels, about 65.
Yeah.
Somewhere over 200 stories.
Yeah. And so you became a writer by writing. You get better and better and better by
So,
writing.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
question for you.
Tell people it's the Groundhog Day theory of writing. You just you do the same kind of thing over and over and over till you get good at it.
So
Yeah.
what are you? You're an impulsive writer, a 9 to 5 writer? I'm just curious because I know a lot of authors now, and some of them I can only call compulsive because of the way they write. But I know some of them are, for lack of a better way, I'd like to call them 9 to 5 because they're very structured. They get up. Some are write in the morning, some write in the afternoon, but they'll get up, have a cup of coffee, go write for a few hours. Maybe have some late breakfast or early lunch, write for a few more, usually around 5 o'clock, knock off. Dick Redfern, who's a friend of mine, he's got 176 books going 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. That's what he does. And it always floors me because, you know, I know enough authors. There's a lot of imagination going on here. So how in the hell do you just do that? I just don't understand how they do it. I can understand when you're just writing for something that you're fantasizing in your head or you're making up as you're going along. That makes sense to me. But just sitting there every day, it's one hell of an imagination is all I could say.
Well, you found it like anything else too, you know, and it helps if you're imaginative in the first place. And I was always an imaginative kid. It took a while before I decided to kind of channel that toward writing. I didn't really make a commitment to that until I was like 18. Before that, I wanted to be a comic book artist. And then before that, I wanted to be a musician. And before that, I don't know, I wanted to be a vet, I guess. Who knows? When I was really little.
But like Joe,
yeah,
with what you do, Joe, you've got like, you know, what you're able to do on, because you've got this show that you do here, but then you've got News on the Flip Side, which is a big, you know, political. You get totally, you know, into politics, right and left.
In trouble every week.
Yeah, but you've got that. You've got a show on science and beyond, and then you've got a show on current event. I mean, you've got all these different things that you're able to go in, and you create what, 6 hours of content a week, 8 hours that you do yourself.
Oh, so for me, it's today alone. I'm going to produce 5-6 hours today.
Yeah.
Last night was 4, so that's 10. Then the other 2 shows are 2 hours each, so 14 hours.
14 hours a week that you do, and it's all different subjects. So like somebody else can go to you, go like, how do you do that? You know, so like you've got your brain wired for that. Tim's got his brain wired for that. You know, so you get people, you know, have like you're very creative in what you do, but it's you know, what you've got there is your mouth talking, and Tim's
I've got a rule. I leave the creative stuff to the creative people, and I just run my mouth. I got the easy job. It's a friend of mine one day was telling me I watched. He's a fabulous artist. I'm like, man, I'm so jealous. I mean, every time you even touch something, it comes out fabulous. Whether you're painting it, sculpture. I said, God, he's got so much talent, and he makes buku money. He said, I'm jealous. You go sit up and talk. He said, I couldn't even get in front of 100 people and talk. He said he had to give something for one of these art classes, and he said, I was about to just faint. He said, I don't even know how you do it. I said, what do you mean? It's easy. I said, next time do it over Zoom, then you're not actually there. Make it easy.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point. Some of the stuff for you is really easy. Someone else goes like, I can't figure that out.
It can get scary. I can understand why they would get scary. That's why we never tell beginners or people who, you know, sometimes what the audience size of the shows are. Because I know one lady asked me about, she was on UFO Undercover. She asked me one night, and I told her she fainted live on the air.
Oh
4,000 miles away from me. So there's not much I could do. Wasn't even in the same country. I was like, holy. And then she just kind of came out of it, you know, because we didn't know who to call. We could only call her phone. I guess it finally woke her up. And she was like, did I faint? I'm like, yeah, for like 40 minutes, but we didn't really worry.
That poor thing.
Oh, I did. I felt so bad for her, man. I just, if it's, you know, I kind of, you know, because you don't think about it. I always tell people the same thing. You don't worry about it. You just talk. We try to do all the shows basically as just some people hanging out either in a place together, chatting, or over the phone chatting. Much more relaxed. Better that way, because I learned a long time ago that a guest will give you what they know and have willingly if you just let them do it.
Yeah,
right.
Which was
when we started this show 2 years ago, it was just under 50,000 that first show, and now we're up to 4.5 million.
It's
listeners per episode.
Couldn't resist.
Well, we're in a bunch of countries. It makes it crazy because I mean this show's about 168 countries right now.
That's wild.
When I look at it, sometimes I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But then when I take the numbers, which is a lot, but we start breaking it out across cities and countries and everywhere that we're nook and cranny that we're going to. By the way, I got to tell you, I'm so proud. It's been for years. I pissed BBC off so bad every year because we're allowed in the Middle East and they are not. Neither is NBC or ABC. They're not allowed. They can't go to Saudi Arabia, none of those places. They're not allowed. Period. Matter of fact, you know, I found it out by accident. I used to watch that crazy. These guys used to drive cars in Britain. They were crazy guys blowing up cars, wrecking cars, premier new high-end cars. Well, they were going somewhere in the Middle East. And they said, no, you're banned. BBC's banned from here. So I looked up and found that they're banned from a lot of places. We're not. And even 2 of the other shows actually go to North Korea. This one doesn't, but we have 2 other shows in too. So, but this one's in Venezuela. They're listening to us there. They can hear us in Cuba right now. They can hear us. Actually, here's if there's anybody listening, they can hear us in Iran right now. We have listeners in Tehran, and we have listeners all over the Middle East.
Can you tell me people are listening to us right now in Dayton, Ohio?
Yeah, well, I guarantee there's people
Sure.
listening in Dayton. You know, I was in Dayton
Yeah.
but so long ago. I met this really nice girl there, but I was there I was recruiter for the Navy at the time. I was on HARP duty. I was on leave, so they had to give me 3 weeks off for some reason, and so they sent me on recruitment duty. I was like, really? You don't really think I'm going to actually recruit people to join the Navy, right? You don't really think I'm going to do that? I said, well, you know, I'll take them to lunch and we can talk and stuff. But it was what it was. It's all they wanted me to do was sit there and tell people the advantages to being stuck on a ship for 9 months at a time. Yes. Yeah. No, I did. Carly, no, I actually did my job. I was really good at it. I just didn't want to do it. They could have did me anything else. I just didn't want to be a recruiter. I mean, for the jobs I was being paid for, it had nothing to do with that. But you know, it's interesting how many people I've met that have come out of the military who are writing books now. How many I've met through John actually that were I want to say interpreters.
Interrogators. We had the one.
Interrogators, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I've met 5 now total, or 6, I think. With the girl last week or a couple weeks back, I think that makes 6. And when you listen to them talk and talk about how they write and how they got to where they are and why they're writing what they're writing, it's very, very interesting. And I'm always interested in what drives an author because every author is different. I mean,
yeah, it's an interesting story with Tim because I asked him like, why horror? So I said on the podcast, but right now we're on Office Quill. I'll say, so why horror?
I don't even remember what I said last time.
Well, we can make it fresh, new in its own time.
Well, you know, for some reason, I've always been fascinated with monsters. I mean, I was like a lot of kids. I was really interested in dinosaurs. Before I could read, my dad would read me books from the library, and I memorized the shape of the dinosaurs' names because I didn't know letters, but I could point every one of them out. They fascinated me because they were real, but they're not around anymore. So they're like monsters that were real, but they're kind of like ghosts. And the only thing we have left was their skeletons. And so it was just like, you know, a whole lot of just kind of cool horror type things that intersected there. And it was the latter part of the 60s. I was born in 64. So there was a lot of just for kids, all kinds of monsters and cartoons and things like that. Horror hosts were, you know, coming into their own. So you get to see movies, you know, sometimes it'd be in the afternoon. So I wouldn't have to stay up late when I was little because my mom and dad wouldn't let me. And so, you know, just kind of absorbed all that stuff. And for whatever reasons, I just happened to be one of those people that, you know, it's like, in that I forget the name of the episode, original Star Trek, but it's the robot nomad who he always detects the nonconformity, and that's the thing he wants to like eradicate or something. Yeah. And that's me. I can detect the nonconformity without even trying, and sometimes it drives my wife nuts because it's like the only thing I see.
Yeah,
we know you're ex-gener now, so we know. No, Jack. No, I'm actually a year older than him. I was born in 63. Yeah. I might as well. No, because they always said the X-Gen is the last of the feral generations, meaning that mom go outside and play, get away from the TV, go find something to do, go do your chores. No, that's not. My son was not raised like that. Oh, hell no. My son was raised with a Nintendo in front of him. He didn't half his life away. And then, I got to go out. He likes to go fishing and stuff like that. But he'd still regret to spend most of his time from that video game. Even now, he's 40 now and still. Yeah, video games are great, but outside's more fun.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's just the way we were raised. I mean,
the only video game I played was this game called Pong. And it was like, I remember like, wow, when it had 2 paddles, that was like serious high tech.
That's right.
But that's as far as I went on. I didn't do, otherwise it was pinball. I used to enjoy pinball or Pong. That was the only thing I ever did. And then,
when I played pinball, it used to pay you the money back. Oh yeah, you put your quarter in. If you want to give every credit gave you a quarter back. I was like,
I never got money back. But you were there in casinos.
No, it wasn't inside we had a pizza restaurant. It was just part of the thing in Louisiana back in the day in New Orleans.
I just win replays.
Yeah, me too.
That was cool. And a lot of the seafood restaurants where they had 4 or 5 of them in there. You hit it's like trying to get you hooked on a casino. That's what it was. But there was none back then. There was 82. You're a baby, Kara. Damn. My Chihuahua's older than that. Come on. I might have to ask for some ID just for you to be in the damn room with us. I don't know. I have to think about it. Heidi, how you doing, sweetie? No, she's all right. I'm just giving her hell. Jeffrey, what do you mean? What? Oh, okay. No, I just didn't understand what you said. So, Jeffrey, where are you from, Jeffrey? West Point? Westport. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Jeffrey wanted to know, why did you pick horror? I mean, what was it? Was it something from a childhood? Just something you felt comfortable writing about? He's just curious why, because there's so many genres to pick from these days that, and for that matter, do you hold yourself just to that, or do you allow yourself to explore outside of those areas?
Well, when I started seriously pursuing writing at 18, I wanted to be a fantasy writer because that's what I was reading at that point, all through high school.
Seems like
I didn't read. Yeah, I didn't read a lot of horror. I had my first relatives that died was a great uncle. He died when I was 9, and it clicked with me that this is what horror does to people. Like, if there's a monster and it kills somebody, there's somebody left behind like me. It felt like I did. And that just put me off horror for a long time. It just became too real. It took a little while to get back into it. I mean, I started reading Stephen King like so many people, but, I didn't really read a lot. But, it was that was the 80s. It wasn't like there were a million science fiction and fantasy movies coming out. So we saw everything. We would go see one weekend a horror movie, the next weekend, be a drama. It didn't matter. If it was good, we'd go see it. Yeah. So just little by little, I started sort of gravitating toward horror. And I found that my ideas for short stories worked better in horror than they did if I tried fantasy or science fiction. And then as time went on, I was like, this is the stuff I really love. I need to focus on this. And that's when the horror boom of the 80s collapsed in the 90s. The instant I decided to write a horror novel. So I kept working on short stories and stuff and still trying fantasy novels. But eventually I just sort of, the horror was what was getting the most response from editors and readers, my short horror. So I said, okay, let's go ahead and gravitate on over to novels and see what happens. And it's been from that. But I also do media tie-ins, and they can be anything. Yeah. I've done science fiction ones. I've done action adventure ones.
What are the tie-ins with? What are the franchises that you tied in with?
Oh Lord, I just finished or had come out Conan the Barbarian novel and a short story. That was a lot of fun.
It's interesting you said that, because isn't Arnold making 3?
I've heard the rumor about it.
Yeah, I've seen him on TV. I was watching something totally different, and it came up as a commercial in one of the things I was watching, and he's talking about the 3, and I'm like, you're a little old to be playing Conan, right? You know that, right? Some of you, you're gonna be up on the throne in your suit. I don't know, but he sounded pretty serious about it. I didn't hear any dates or anything, but I mean, because there's a lot of so-called things coming back, like Serenity and things like that. So, and I know Superman's playing Highlander, so that's going to be interesting. I'm sure my wife will really, she loves the guy. And he got landed 2 really big roles. I can't remember the other one right now, but and John said that the new star, Superman's good guy. He seemed okay. But if you're going to write some good horror, you need to write some near now sci-fi horror. So like, near now sci-fi with somebody at the same time.
The thing that scares me the most in terms of, horror just like gets me like creeped out, or like, remember the last movie I saw horror, which I actually watched, it was, this was a long time ago, where there was it was back in the, 1600s, 1700s. And these girls were caught as quote unquote being witches, and they're in prison, but they would just get raped and stuff. Or sometimes they tried to do stuff, but they'd be tortured. And there's this one where they were holding her up from the rack and then spread her legs out and then dropped her on top of this stake. And I said, and that just kind of like creeped me out. So that was like, okay, I'm totally done with this genre. When that happened, that to me was just, I got the somatics and everything. Everything that was trying to convey was conveyed. And so I was definitely done with that genre at that point.
Shit, Jesse's saying that's porn, man. What are you talking about?
No, that was not
watching, man.
Yeah, I don't know what movie that was, but that's not really typical of the horror genre. That's like sort of a like a backwater eddy of it, with an extreme kind of
that's a torture
stuff going on.
It was definitely a shock value there, but that was just kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, I can understand a lot of horror fans won't go anywhere near stuff like, especially if it's it's just misogynistic, and it seems like it is, a form of porn at that point. So I'm not sure what you saw, but I
Yeah,
can
there
understand
was no
why it would
sex
put you
on
off.
screen. Everything was off screen, but then you could
Mhm.
see them, where this big ugly guard coming in, and it stops right there. You know what he's going to do, and then you
Right.
see her. She's clothed. She's not naked, but she's dropped on top of this thing here,
Right.
and just the screaming is like, that was for me. That was the end for that genre, and I just, the Freddy and Friday the 13th, all those things there. I could just Chainsaw Mask, all those things there. Those are just like, at that point, I was so not interested in those, as the shock value on that stuff didn't
Mhm.
didn't need that. I think that
Well,
maybe that's
those-
one thing too that happens, is that with a society that's so numb with this inundation of all types of different messages coming at them, and so many different things and all kinds of medication stuff, they need something that's going to go bam, and horror will definitely do that. The um, I did enjoy Alfred Hitchcock with his stuff. That had good
But
surprise
he
stuff.
was twisted. That's why the man was twisted in the head.
I,
Not that I didn't like some of his stuff, but he was twisted. So Daddy must have kicked him in the head when he was a baby. I don't know. There's something was twisted about that guy.
I don't know. I enjoyed that. And I was just,
King
I
was a
think
little
the
twisted.
guys that did that other stuff and talking about were twisted. The Friday the 13th and Freddy and
Well, I'm sure any good, well, maybe Tim's a little twisted. You can't be really good horror writer if you ain't got a little twist going on there somewhere.
Well, maybe I don't know.
No,
But
Jack,
yeah,
you're not being
I
like
read an
Joe
article
Twist.
once that said that they discovered a gene that people who enjoy horror have that people who don't have. Just like they found a gene for people
That's
who
interesting.
hate roller coasters, which is me. I can't stand to be on those things. But my wife and both my kids love them. So there may be part of it just may be inborn. I don't know.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
Well,
things like that. I mean, I don't particularly want to watch the movie with the woman put on the stake, but I don't, in general, get scared at horror movies. I used to. Uh, I remember because the movies like the original Halloween, they were something that were, normal that you would see in, small Southwest Ohio towns. But when it came out, I went with, he was my sister's boyfriend at the time, and he was just having a great time listening to everybody scream and whatever. And I was like, oh, this doesn't have to be like a traumatic thing necessarily. And that's the last time I was probably really scared. And for that, it was more the tension than anything. That drives my kids nuts. And I think it really drives this modern generation of younger people crazy because all their technology does everything exactly when they want it
yeah,
on
they're
command.
losing
And
feeling.
if you have to sit and watch a movie that will not do what you want, it builds suspense and it builds suspense. I think it just drives them insane. That's why I think they like the paranormal, at least back in the day, they liked the paranormal activity movies because nothing happens for a long, long time. And I was like, I waited, I saw the first with my daughter, and I'm like, I waited an hour for a pot to fall from in the kitchen. That's it. That's the only damn thing. But she was on the edge of her seat the whole time. So,
Yeah, I hated those damn things. You go, oh,
yeah.
look, the flashlight moved. The flashlight didn't move, and then you'd see it go like, really?
Mhm.
And I said, how much you making for this, Bob? I'm just curious because I mean,
Mhm.
well, no, there's a lot of paranormal shows and networks. I don't hate on, and there's a lot of good researchers on the network, but and every now and then one of them will do something that'll scare the bejesus out of you. But for the most part, I gotta say, at this age, there's not much scares me anymore. It just, short of somebody dropping a nuke on my head, and I'm not even sure I'd be that scared. Then I might just think I'm getting a vacation. It's it's not. I don't know. It's hard because I know I watch things, and I don't really. If I get to watch TV or movie, it's usually early in the morning, like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, because I'm usually tired of doing other stuff. But I just don't get the thrill I used to get out of it. And unfortunately, my grandkids are ZJs, and they're like, Big Joe, we don't get the thrill. I'm like, get the thrill of what? We don't get scared anymore. So I'll scare you. Come take a ride with me.
Well, one of the things people get out of horror is they know it's a safe scare. They know nothing's
It
going
is.
to happen to them.
It's a good
And
way.
so they are free to feel, but in a safe space, and they're free to like think of ideas or confront ideas that, in a safe way. That you can confront death to whatever degree you want, but in a safe way. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of psychological benefits to horror that don't have anything to do with like literally being scared necessarily.
Have you won a Bram Stoker?
Yeah, I've won 4 of them.
So because for anybody listening to this right now, so if you like horror, then Tim is definitely a guy you need to meet if you're not familiar with his work. So what are some of the ones? So like you won Bram Stoker for, what are your titles? And then I want to talk about that last one that I read, that I was like, and then at the end it was like, there was the uptick, which is like what I look for in books, and I found it, but it was an interesting thing, which I was not expecting to see as an uptick. So what are your books so far that you've won? Bram Stoker is a top award for the horror genre.
That's right. There's also the Shirley Jackson Award too, which is more for literary horror. I was nominated for that twice, but I haven't won that one yet. Maybe someday. I won for the Stoker first for my novella, The Winter Box. And then the next 3 were all for nonfiction. They were for my How to Write Horror books and articles. Two How to Write Horror books and 1 How to Write Horror article. So that's what they were.
Cool. And then the one that you just sent me that we discussed, the novella. So first of all, just provide a simple overview of the book and I guess your elevator pitch or for the story. Hello?
Oh, sorry. I thought you said you were going to do it.
Oh, no, you.
Sorry.
No.
It's about a suicide plague that hits a small town, and it just spreads everywhere except for this one man who's trying to figure out what's going on and how to stop it. And I wrote it because for 2 reasons. One is that my wife had told me about a rash of suicides in her high school at one point, a long time ago. And we had 3 pets that just happened to pass away in succession. And in my mind, I was like, it's almost like death was catching. And I kind of put those 2 things together. And then I gave myself a writing challenge. I said, okay, could I write about this subject in a way that was ultimately uplifting? So, it was a piece of extreme horror that I hope, had an uplifting message at the end or was positive or reaffirming. And at least from some of the reviews I've seen, people think I succeeded. So I hope so.
Yeah, because in the end of it, because I was like, wow, it was so upsetting. Like these guys they had this compulsion that overtook them, that they wanted to die, and they were trying to go after and to be killed or to be made dead. And but at the end, all of a sudden, when I got what you were doing there, you are important, you do have somebody contribute. It was like, wow, so didn't see that coming. I remember this story, but I forget what's the name of it again.
It's The World Turns Red.
The World Turns Red. And at the end, all of a sudden you realize it's, in part at least, a message to those who have considered or contemplated or actually attempted suicide, and giving a heartfelt message, you do have something to contribute to the world. You do have something that's, don't give up hope. There is a future that, if you just don't give up. And so it was an interesting story how you got this and just really got into the whole thing of people, wanting to die, wanting to kill themselves. And then at the end, this one kid that this virus didn't affect. And he was just getting across that thing, no, you do have something you can contribute. And so I was like, my uptick, that's, I was really hoping to get, because like I said, that was my problem with horror, is it's not compelled to have a happy ending, and not that's particularly happy, but it was oh, okay, there's a good ending to the story. There's a good message that came from that story, which is great. And that's one of the things too, that even though that's something that would not make it into writers of the future, because we do dark fantasy, but don't hit the horror stuff. Mm-hmm. That is a good message, which is something that when L. Ron Hubbard created Writers of the Future, that was part of what was trying to get, is science fiction, the herald of possibility, and you got fantasy as well. And so getting that message that you could have can have something good, that you can contribute, you can have value, is an important message to get. And is with stuff that's going on today and all the divisiveness and all the stuff that's going back and forth, the hate that builds up, it's easy to like consider that the other guy, the red or the blue or the other nation, the other religion, whatever, you know, you need to like, everybody's got something that they can contribute. And that's sort of like that message that, you know, you've got in there as well.
Yeah,
At least I got out of that.
We had some suicide prevention information in the back too, just
Yeah.
in case. I thought if somebody was, you know, just in case somebody might be thinking about it, I wanted to make sure it was there.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was like, wow, that's pretty cool. You know, he addresses and everybody like offing themselves and wanting to, and then all of a sudden like, okay, you don't have to, you know. So that fit into what you're saying, like what you can do with horror.
Mm-hmm.
You can do this stuff, you can have it, you can view it, but nothing's going to happen to you.
Right. Right. And it could just be a catharsis, but you can also get, you know, a good message out of it too, depending.
Yeah.
Just really depends on what somebody wants to do. That's what's nice. Horror is super versatile.
Yeah, which is what I got out of that story. So that was good. So do you find that horror does better as a novella or short story or novel? Because you said you found it easier to do short stories, but in terms of the three formats.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of different opinions about that. I mean, when I was starting out, you know, the pros would say things like, you know, the best form for horror would be the short story, and some would say the novella is perfect because it allows for a little more expansion, a little more exploration of character. And they'd often say that with novels, it's very hard to sustain, and especially when after Stephen King got so popular, they wanted thicker and thicker ones. And there's something to that. A lot of
I couldn't make it through The Stand.
Yeah, couldn't.
No, that was
it's huge. With a novel, I find that a lot of times they're in some ways a little more adventure stories. There's usually like an investigative kind of element, like why is this happening and how can we stop it? I usually write from the point of view of multiple characters. I usually have an ensemble, which helps. So in some ways, I'm telling smaller stories that all combine in different ways. So, but yeah, I think that I think currently most people think short novels or novellas probably are the most effective, but and the novels tend to be now not quite so gigantic that people put out. There's a lot more room, especially with the small press. There's a lot more room to do stories of various sizes. You don't feel the need to, like back in the day when, like in the 80s and 90s, the books had to be gigantic, especially the hardbacks, and they'd literally use thicker paper and they'd use like bigger font just so people thought they were getting more book for their money.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
3-inch gutters.
I mean, my wife picks up a book. If it's less than X amount of words, she's not even going to read it. The Anne Rice collection, I think she read the first one in an afternoon. The freaking book is this thick.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Jesus, baby. She's like, when's the next one coming out? I said, well, you got to ask Anne Rice. Nothing to do with that. She goes, well, you're going to be going to the party, because we used to get invited to her All Hallows Eve party. But it's she just, it doesn't matter what it is. She's like a freaking sponge. I don't know. And I took professional reading course when I was young, because I did so much schematic work for the Navy that I needed to be able to read really fast. But you lose too much. You can't read a book that way. Not a novel anyway, or anything that's a story. You can't read that way, because just leaving out little things actually changes the story. And you may not realize it in the first, but when you listen to other people talk, you're like, well, they've got a completely and utterly different opinion than I do, and everybody else has that same opinion, So I quit doing that. So I'll either listen, I'll either get an audiobook and do it that way. And if by the time, if a bunch of people say, hey, Joe, you have to read this, then I'll probably make some time to read it. But other than that, I just don't get the time to sit and read anymore. So it kind of bites. and even sometimes when we're doing shows, or when I'm doing promo stuff or guest stuff, I'll have something rolling on the side that to keep track of. My brain don't like it if I'm not doing at least 4 things at one time. It's like a 5-year-old brain.
Yeah, and I'm looking at your all the different titles that you've written here. So obviously you're very much into the horror stuff, But what's it like? Like I see here, I got the Conan, which isn't horror, but then you've got like Resident Evil, the final chapter, the official movie novelization. So, what was it like writing in those other universes with horror?
Yeah, that was the very first novelization that I've done, and I've done 10 overall now. Yeah, it was very different to get a script because I'd seen all the movies before that, and I watched them again once I got the script, and then I read the script, and the penultimate movie has a giant battle that's about to happen, like thousands of monsters. Every character from the series are going to fight these monsters at the Capitol building, I think, or maybe the White House, and then that's where it stops. And then the next movie begins with no monsters around. It's just a wasteland, and the main character climbing out of a sewer or something, and that's it. No mention of what happened, nothing. And so I said,
right off.
yeah, and I was like, well, I don't know if they'll let me, but I'm going to write a 60-page mini novel of this big battle and explain stuff. And they let me do whatever I wanted, which was nice. You want to try to capture the tone and the feel of the script. I feel like it's like a collaboration with people that you may not ever talk to. Although the last couple that I did, that 3 of directors have been involved in looking over the script, and not the script, the manuscript. Give me some feedback, and they've all been wonderful to work with. So because it's like the tie-in is kind of changing, it's becoming sort of like a kind of a prestige thing, I guess, for studios to have, which is so different than how people used to look at it. It used to be seen sort of an afterthought written by a hack or something. But yeah, it's a lot of fun because it stretches your mind. I mean, I had to look up all kinds of stuff about weapons and whatever to write about that. I had to look up a bunch of stuff on the internet for like movie stills and whatever, and anything leaked from the production, so I could see what things looked like. And the nice thing is, the thing I always liked about reading novelizations is you get to experience what it's like to be in a character's head, because no movie can do that yet. When they can plug the things in the back of our heads or whatever, so we think we're doing these things, or at least we're riding along in somebody's head as it's happening.
Give it time.
Yeah. But for right now, the only thing that can do that is fiction. So I really enjoy that. It feels also like a work of translation in a way too. I'm translating something from one form to another, and it's a lot of fun.
That's cool. Now, Bridge over here, just on Writers of the Future, because you teach creative writing. You're familiar with Writers of the Future, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you ever tell your students or recommend to your students to enter the contest? Because it's free to enter.
Yeah, I tell them about all kinds of different contests and put up all kinds of links. And sometimes they'll tell me if they enter, sometimes they don't. I never really know. And I don't want to pressure them too much. So, yeah. But yeah, it's one of the ones that we'll talk about.
Yeah, because I just want to say, because we've got, this year's number 42 that we're releasing, and this is the year we break 1,000 writers and artists have been published for the first time in the series. So we're pretty chuffed about
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
It's called a milestone. I Google it. What do you call 1,000? I say it's called a milestone. And so it is very, very cool. We've got Tom Doherty. He's the guy that founded and created Tor. He's making a special presentation. He's flying out from New York, and we've got LA City Council is doing a special presentation, and it's nice getting that. But I wanted to, if you'd be interested, because we got these, we have the free online course that's taught by Scott Card, Tim Powers, Dave Wolverton, Nadia Corfor, Rob Sawyer, and Kevin Anderson. They have these videos on all the steps of writing short stories, and they kind of like complement each other. There's no like, this is how you write a story. They all have different pieces, and obviously you pick and choose what works for you. And as you get better, things all of a sudden like, I didn't understand why he said this, but now I do after they've written their 50th book or whatever. But we have these little cards. I had them there at Superstars on our table there that I was passing around and whatnot. But if I could, I'd love to send you some of those to be able to, for anybody that's interested in entering the writing contest because it's free to enter and it's blind judged. And that's one thing that's really cool about it is all these judges are the ones that all they know is it's a number in the story. They don't know anything else about it. So nobody has to feel intimidated. Like, I don't want somebody to know my name in case it's really sucky. You know, they have no clue, you know, who it is. It's just a number. And they only find out the name if they become a finalist.
Yeah, and that's good too because so often the up and coming writers, they talk to people at conferences. They'll talk to some of the judges. They may have taken workshops from them.
Yeah.
And so this way, it keeps the judge even unconsciously from favoring one over the other.
Yeah, we've had it before. Like Brandon Sanderson was one of the winners. He said, I have to recuse myself because I recognize this author. She was in my writing class, and I think it was a few other judges also had to recuse themselves because they recognized the person entering. Because that's one thing that's really cool about the contest and why the judges love it so much is that it really is what we say it is. It's blind judged. So nobody knows who it is, and if they do, they say, no, I can't judge this one because I recognize the person. They want to keep it totally above board and just strictly a meritocracy. So that's one thing that's cool about it too. But anyway, so how does somebody find you?
Well, they can find me at my website. It's just timwaggoner.com, and Waggoner's got 2 G's and an O. And of course, like everybody else, that's the hub you can move out from.
Right.
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Blue Sky. You can find me on Threads. And my contact information, my website is just my regular email. If anybody wants to get in touch for whatever reason, they're welcome to, or just friend me, or just send me a message on social media.
Good. And then for what do you recommend as a good first read for Tim Waggoner?
Oh, it's so hard because it depends on, what people like or don't like. The years ago, I wrote a couple books, with the TV Ghost Hunters, and both of those that I wrote, they're kind of scary, but not too scary. So they're called Ghost Trackers and Ghost Town, and so in general, they're kind of sort of tie-ins, but really, I just wrote them. But those are kind of good middle of the road ones. Some people like my Necropolis series, which is kind of a more lighthearted adventure series about a city full of monsters, and a Zombie Private Eye. Kevin Anderson, when his came out, he emailed me and said, "I swear to God, I didn't know you did this." And I said, "It's no problem." There have been a number of zombie PIs since, but people like that one, and they still ask me if I'm going to do any more so many years later. So I usually tell people that's a good one too, because it's got monsters and stuff, but it's for fun. It's not anything meant to be scary or anything meant to be, it's lighthearted.
Good, and then obviously there's the World Turns Red. So you also have a newsletter I see here, and I'm looking at your webpage, Tim Waggoner. Sign up for Tim's newsletter. You got that too. But if you like horror, then this is definitely the guy for you to check out. If you've not read Tim Waggoner, to check with it. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
But if you ever get anything new, you want to send it. You see right behind me back there. There's all kind of books from all kind. That's Kevin J's right there.
Yeah, so we got ice cream, you scream. But when I did that, we all scream for ice cream. But this one here is not what that is.
Yeah, it is like a ghostly ice cream, man. That was one I read for middle school readers.
Maybe you should write one of those card games with the clowns in them, man. They're pretty horrible.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of horror in them damn things. And first time I see my son playing one, he's like, "No, what are you playing?" I said, "No." And then some hooker come walk. I said, give me the damn game. And kid's like 9. These games are pretty rough, man. There's some pretty rough stuff up in them games. He plays whatever he wants. It's just his life. You can't tell him nothing once you're 50. What are you going to tell him?
Yeah.
It's no, but it's nice having you on. I always love meeting authors, and horror is always fun to read.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. Like you said about having a conversation for these things, that's what I love so much about them. It's just like you get a chance to hang out with some people and talk about the stuff you like. It's a lot of fun. So thanks. I had a great time.
Yeah.
Right.
And I find this way the audience learns more about the authors. They find them more interesting. It's what's that, Jack? Well, we do illustrators. We'll be doing some illustrators later on. I know 8 of them for sure. Yes, we're not hating on illustrators. God. But you notice the name of the show is called The Author's Quill. It's not the illustrator's pen, right? You got that straight. I just thought I'd tell y'all that in case you have problems reading, but I know we got, let's see right here. Bloop. Hey, look, we got over here, man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm really, really good. How's it going, John?
Hey, Nzondi.
You know this guy, John.
Fountain of youth, man. You just always look this ever since I met you 10 years ago. You just got that same fountain of youth look, like just the same look. You don't change, man.
Yeah, you just got this little filter. You put it on. It's like, okay, how do I want to be today? And you just like.
No, man.
Hey,
It's great to see you too. And Tim's gonna be signing off pretty soon. But this is Tim Waggoner. We met him a couple months ago at Superstars, and he's a horror. He's a 4-time Bram Stoker Award winner. And Nzondi, you've won the Edgar.
No, I won the Bram Stoker. I was the first Black to win it in the novel category. And I know Tim very well. I know of him very well. I respect and honor, and I'm intrigued by his writing and everything about Tim.
Well, thank you.
Hey, Joe, how's it going?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm just hanging out, man. I only host you every once in a while. Not just
I met Nzondi when he was the co-chair of Great Los Angeles Writers Society, GLAWS, and so that he came. That's how we met, and that was what 15 years ago. It's been a while.
Jesus, dude, how old are you? You look like you're 20.
Who, John?
You.
I know how old John looks 10 years younger than he did when I met him, which irritates me all the time. But
60, and July 4th, I'll be 60.
Get up. I can't personally show you lucky. Yeah. Man, well, I mean, I'm 63, but still, man, you look good.
Yep.
I wish I looked
good. I can't wave a lightsaber like you do. I saw you.
Yeah, you see that there? That's when we have bad guests. That's the probing stick. Okay.
Uh-oh.
He's into the horror genre right now.
Tim's giving me ideas. Y'all better watch out. Man. It might rub off on me. But no, welcome to the show. It's we always have a good time here. At least we always try to.
Yeah, thank
you. You're welcome to stay if you like to, Tim. Otherwise, thank you very much. We always leave it open for the first guest.
Yeah. We don't have no formalities here. Some of the other shows we might, but not on this one. This one and the one following. The one following is insane. But we have a great time.
Well, I would love to stay, but I got somewhere I got to be. So
okay. Well, thank you very much.
I got to take off.
Okay.
So
hopefully
see you later.
Speak to you again at some point. Thanks, Tim.
You're good.
Yep,
I appreciate
would love that.
I'll see you in Pittsburgh. I'll see you in Pittsburgh, right?
Yep, you sure will. I'll be there.
Pittsburgh. I got 6 hosts
I'll see
in
you
Pittsburgh.
there.
I feel like I'm being invaded by Pittsburgh
Tim.
people. I mean, literally, we got 6 hosts there. And we got some good hosts out of Pittsburgh too. And right now we're working on getting Uncle Fetterman on to come hang out with the crew on Friday night.
Uncle Fetterman.
Fetterman.
John Fetterman, yeah. They finally got hold to him. Yeah, it takes forever. He's got like a 2-week waiting list just to even talk to anybody. But we got a big enough audience so they're interested. So we're lucky.
Wow.
Goes, how big's your audience to see? I'll send you the paperwork. She's like, oh yeah, okay, we're interested. It's like, all right. I mean, they probably won't give it to us for more. We'll get lucky. If we get 30 minutes, we'll get lucky. Probably more like 15.
Yeah, you got yourself an interview with the next Democratic candidate for president or something.
He's going to probably become a Republican at the rate he's going to disown him, man. I mean, I like the guy, but I'm feeling sorry for him. I'm thinking, damn, dude, you're going to get kicked out of your party here soon. Jeffrey.
So, Nzondi, are you going to be at LA Festival of Books in a couple weeks?
I believe it's the same weekend as WonderCon, isn't it?
Yeah,
I will be at WonderCon. I have a table at WonderCon.
Are you going to be coming to Rise of the Future on the 16th?
Absolutely.
All righty, Joe's going to be there too.
Okay,
yes,
cool.
In trouble, yes. I always get in trouble when I'm there, but it's always fun.
It's one of the. I always say this. It's the most. It's the premium. It's like the Oscars for horror writer. I mean, for up and coming writers, science fiction writers. Yeah. It's like the Oscars. I mean, it's a huge show put on. It's the best of the best presenters. I always get a kick out of Robert Sawyer when he presents. He just has so much energy. You know? But everyone, it's a really fantastic Award show for illustrators and writers. And anyone watching this, I definitely implore that you submit. There have been people who won last year who've submitted, I don't know, a dozen times or more.
Yeah.
But it's always worth it. So it's a great award.
Cool, yeah, definitely for seeing. And Nzondi, that's like, I mean, he always looks good anyway, but he gets this is obviously one of those rare opportunities. He gets to like dress up to the nines, and he definitely plays it fully. He's just like, you got some nice threads that you just like take it up there and you're like, all right, here we go. I can get away with wearing them this time here, and just like
yeah, I love that. Yeah, the tuxedo on, the bow tie, and
I'm wearing a pink tux this year.
Ooh, hey, you know what? Okay, maybe we'll both wear a pink tux.
Right. Look, I'm styling, buddy.
Right.
Just get one of those powder blue.
Hey,
powder
man,
blue tuxedos.
my boy
he's gonna be big. He's gonna be big this year.
My boy's at home in Ireland, Scotland. Where is that? So somebody's got to take off his man. Get a nice top hat. Yeah, he's over there in the homeland. I guess it's Jack. Oh no, dude, wrong show. No, we do politics on Friday night, and we get hardcore politics, and we make a lot of people mad. Yes, on whatever side. I'm called the equal opportunity hater on Friday nights. Yes, just know if you come, and I'm going to probably offend you.
As long as you give it your best when you do it.
That's right.
Bring in your A game.
Yeah, it's we don't care who you are. It doesn't matter. Everybody's fair game. It's hey, it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of time. We do real news. I mean, we do hardcore news, so that's actually alive. People actually get real news from us. We have 5.5 million weekly viewers that tell me every week when we get our news here. It's because we do news and then we do opinion news. So you get the news and you can take it for whatever it is. Then we'll tell you what we think the news, and that's where the trouble starts.
We live in a world where people, are enamored with one word. What's the best one? Drama. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they like their drama, man.
Yeah,
they like their drama. Unfortunately, for the show, I got to prep. So it's usually I have about 14 news channels on my Roku that I use. Wow. And, it's kind of equal. Some are definitely one way, pro left, pro right. But you got to go through them all. If you even want to get any of the truth, you got to listen to the Democrats whine about all of this for an hour. You got to go here and listen to Republicans whine. And then you go, oh, well, they said this. Smush it together. Oh, we might have the damn truth. So that's what gets me in trouble. Because I just can't help myself. But so, man, we can see it right in the future. It's always nice. So we're at the Speakeasy Hotel this year, right?
So the Roosevelt.
Yes, because I noticed they got all those little hidden rooms with bars in them, so they must have been speakeasy back in the day.
I was like, the Speakeasy Hotel, no, the Roosevelt Hotel, man. It's a classic. That's a classic.
Oh, I love the Roosevelt.
Yeah. With a little few ghost stories in it too,
Yeah.
Lowe's is nice because it's hooked to the mall and it's a little more modern, but the Roosevelt's got so much more class to it.
Plus they finished a remodeling. They got new management now, which made a big difference. So we checked, and the bar's open till I think 2 or 3 a.m. The last time we were there, they closed it at 10 o'clock, which is like, it was just crazy. And so we left there. We went to the Lowe's, and then we got the Lowe's and the Roosevelt. They both want us because it's a big gig.
Yeah.
And because we have however many hundreds of room nights that we buy, so it's worth their effort to to vie for it. But really nice at the Roosevelt because they got their big marquee out in front. So we'll have a big thing in the marquee for Writers of the Future, welcoming all the winners. So that'll be fun.
It's the perfect Hollywood spot for anyone who is visiting us the first time there or the second time there. It's a great location.
And what's really good, it's like 100 yards away or so from our offices. So they just walk in. The workshops are here. Their offices here on Hollywood Boulevard. So we have the writers go up the 4th floor and the illustrators on the 1st floor, and just it makes it very, very nice for them to be able to experience Hollywood, get the workshop, and they get the Walk of Fame. And there's always something happening besides the drugged out derelicts on the Hollywood Boulevard.
I was when I was contacted about doing this today, I thought about it. I was like, in my mind, I was saying to myself, am I going to have to go to the offices? To your office right there, and I'm like, oh my god, because it's Oscar weekend, And I usually,
yeah.
I usually work the Oscars. I'm usually standing in and doing rehearsals and presentations for the Oscars. But I'm on Lincoln Lawyer this year, so I wasn't able to do it, conflict of schedule. But everything's blocked off, and I'm like, how in the heck am I gonna get to the, but I'm sure there's a way you got to go through Franklin.
Yeah, go up through Franklin. Yeah, so it's
Orange,
and then it'll be crazy. I mean, today's Saturday, the Oscars are tomorrow. So on tomorrow, they actually block off Highland. Highland goes up Hollywood Boulevard, that whole area around there. Yeah. And that's with, what was it, ABC or whoever it was, aired this thing saying now the potential drone attacks on California. So they took that. And I mean, of course, that's one of the things that I just really despise modern media. They're trying, they take something, an unverified report, undocumented, and they make it, boom, here you go, and create fear. Yeah. And there's such fear merchants, which it's just, and people wonder why people leave watching the news like that and get more and more listening to what Joe has to offer in that type of media.
You got so many people listening on Blue Sky or listening on X or listening somewhere else, and there's so many AI programs out there right now. I get contacted on a regular basis because I've done quite a work now, and now that the war started, I've seen them getting a lot more of them. I seen one today where the Iranians had a bunch of U.S. military people, parading around in their grounds, and we haven't put troops on the ground yet, so obviously they're not ours. And then you got them where they set the top of the Gerald Ford on fire. Really, that would be on every newspaper everywhere in the damn planet. Every news agency everywhere would be thinking, and we'd have probably launched a nuke by now. I'm like, but they had put this all over, and a lot of people see it, and they just don't realize it's not real.
Yeah, that's that thing with our James Rassone. He's another he's military sci-fi, near future science fiction. To me, that's the scariest of anything. Like, you can write whatever you're going to write, and it's just like I kind of go, okay, that's horror. Yeah. But the near future science fiction, which has the military sci-fi, that to me is just scary as all get out, because that's, at what point is it science fiction versus science faction? Because the stuff that this guy writes about, said the only thing about what I write about that science fiction is the batteries on these mech soldiers. Everything else, that technology exists. Robots and all that stuff there, and the types of weapons and all that type of stuff, that's all there. And it starts off with this app, that everybody goes crazy over, and China's using it to profile all the different countries, all the different people. And he doesn't say TikTok, but it's TikTok. And they're just using it to profile everything. And then with that, they do their deep fake, and they do all this other false videos that create all this tension, and which right now you got happening. You've got such tension between the left and the right in the United States. Yeah. It's just crazy. And you've got all this stuff here, and it's just, hate Trump, hate, the liberal, all this different stuff. And it's just like, one thing that creates this fuse. That's,
it's hot. Well, this last election taught us was social media matters now. Yeah. Well, it used to not matter. Now it matters. X alone probably delivered Trump a good chunk of votes. And then Twitter probably gave him even more votes. And then there's Joe Rogan.
There's my buddy's in town from the East Coast, and we hung out a couple of days ago. He was one of the co-producers of a documentary that is nominated for an Oscar. And so he's doing the whole Oscar party thing and whatnot. And when he came over day before yesterday, we sat and watched it on HBO Max. And the name of the documentary, I didn't even know. I knew it was nominated, but I didn't know the name of it. And even when I heard the name, it didn't hit me until I saw it. And it's called something like Armed with Only a Camera: The Life and Death of Brent. And I forget the last name, but it was the young man who was killed, the journalist who was killed, the first journalist who was killed, overseas. And you remember? I mean,
I kind of remember. Now that you said it, I kind of remember it. But
yeah, and I'm torn between something, John, and what you said, Joe, because this fear mongering I don't know if that's the right way, but when you watch this documentary, the documentarian who got killed, and they showed him, some because he went to different parts of where there were wars, and his interest was not to really, and he got some incredible shots of car bombs right when they went off, like because he was just filming people, and the car bomb would go off. But then he got the after effects of the car bombs, and it's one of the most powerful pieces that I've seen because it shows the civilians and what happens in these things. And we have, as long as I've known, had a civilization, this modern civilization have always had war.
Very much.
Yeah.
And I don't know, in a way, over here in the States, we're desensitized, because it doesn't happen in our backyard.
We like blowing shit up. What are you talking about?
I mean, it doesn't happen in your backyard. I mean,
No.
when you see this documentary and you see a woman, and they show this rummage, and that's where she was when the bomb went off, and she luckily got away, but her children, all of her children except for one, when you see that, it really brings to home that we don't, I don't look out my window right now and see the next apartment building blown to bits. So we should be very aware and fearful of what could happen on this soil because we're really spoiled.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. So I don't know, maybe we should be not as
should be, but I think the world too worries though, because last time someone hit our own soil, we blew them up with nuclear weapons. So, screwing around with us is a dangerous game, especially with Donald Trump in office. Joe Biden would have been one thing. Trump, I don't think he would hesitate to use a nuke if something went wrong.
Yeah.
So he there's a lot of things I like about the guy, there's a lot of things I don't like about the guy. And one of them is, I think if it came right down to it and he thought he had the right he would do it. I have no doubt he would live, or somebody, maybe assassinated a vice president or something. They may use a nuke. They won't use a big one. They'll use a low yield tactical nuke, kill, 2 million people.
So, I mean, I write a lot about, what happens in my books. Like I have a new book out that, Death Con that just came out. It's kind of like a horror con on the sea, horror convention on the sea. Everyone's in cosplay and then all hell breaks loose. And, I'm always writing about, people who, ordinary people amidst chaos and how they fight, against their humanity. Because when you're in a situation like that, you're now thinking about yourself, your family, that's it, no one else. And it's, everyone's against everyone. And man, I think we need, I don't know if we should be paranoid, but I think we really need to be aware of how bad it can get. And guess what? It's always been bad through the history of man and humanity.
Yeah. See, it's interesting too. You're talking about this, and I would like you to send me the book so I can read it and I can schedule you so we can have you on the podcast as well. It's been a couple of years since you've been a guest, but I mean, I remember in the '60s, the whole thing with Vietnam. It was like the United States was so divided. It was so like, you had Crosby, Stills and Nash, with Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
10 soldiers and Nixon coming, 4 dead in Ohio. And that whole thing going on then, it was such an unpopular war that was happening. And just before then, you had Korea, World War II, and then there was World War I. It's like in the 20th century, there were 2 world wars and a potential of a third one happening. Plus, you had Vietnam.
Yeah.
That was a major century of conflict.
Yeah.
And then, so take a look now. There's been virtually nothing, compared to. So you see people now, I see like Gen Z and the millennials, where they take umbrage if you if you put punctuation in a text, and like I look at it and I go, oh my gosh, how much we've actually descended as a people, where there was real thing where people would be sent off to war in World War II, and we had however many tens of thousands lost, and globally, how many millions
The
lost.
Z-genders might see themselves get drafted. They're talking about, because the military is about twice the size it was under Joe Biden, because everybody started joining it again. But still, they've talked about bringing the draft up and maybe drafting another million people, and putting our army at twice the size as anybody's on the planet. That's provocative, at least. I mean, if we want to go in Iraq, fine. But I never understood this. Oh, well, we're going to go into a war. Let's take the National Guard. Well, the National Guard aren't there to fight. The National Guard are there to keep us safe and to back up everybody. You send the damn Marines, you want to go kill somebody, or the Army. They don't send a National Guard. That's not their job. They're not trained killers. These other guys are trained killers. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
I got some friends who were in the reserves and National Guard, and he was talking to me one day. He said, "Well, you're Special Forces in the Navy." I said, "Yeah." There's a couple of things in the Navy. Actually, he's like, "Why?" He said, "Nothing seems to bother you." I said, "That's why you did what you did for a living, and I did what I did for a living." And you know what? They know that. That's why we were in the positions we were in.
Yeah.
I said they don't want you out there in the field because you can't. The biggest advantage America has over every army on the planet is we're not going to hesitate to shoot you. Where in Vietnam, and Americans died every 18 seconds because of one reason, because they hesitated to shoot the enemy. That's not who we are anymore. Today, it's ingrained in our culture. And we've had 40 years.
I'm always bringing the conversation back to storytelling. And on that note, have you seen War Machine?
I've heard it.
Oh, come on. I wanted to talk to you about that.
Okay, talk about War Machine. What is it?
Well, it's about the Rangers, and so the guy that plays the lead, the guy that plays Reaper, the Jack Reacher,
yeah,
series, he's in it. I think it's probably his best role that I've seen him in. I've seen him in the 2 seasons of Reacher, which is pretty straightforward action, not really a lot of emotional depth. But
Alan Ritchson.
What's his name?
Alan Ritchson. He's a lead Army Ranger.
Yeah.
And the cast includes Dennis Quaid, Stephen James, and Jai Courtney. Yeah.
But if we get back together again, we'll talk about it then, because I don't want to spoil it. But it's a man's man type of film, and
it's an action sci-fi thriller. It says.
Yeah, and
Joe, something I'd enjoy.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. I think it's something that you would enjoy.
What's the name again? Let me write it down. I'm a
War Machine.
War Machine, yeah.
It sounds so damn familiar.
Yeah, it said it was it hit on Netflix, garnering 39.3 million views in its first 3 days.
We saw it really familiar. Yeah, we saw it on Netflix. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It released March 6th.
Yeah.
And the plot is an elite team's final Army Ranger training exercise is interrupted by an otherworldly killer robot, forcing them to fight for survival.
So now, what do you think? So that segue, what do you think about Trump getting ready to release all of the information about the UFOs and extraterrestrials and aliens? And then I read something that was connected to that said that the aliens think that we are not prepared to really understand and know what space really is.
Sort of. They more think like you're ignorant children and we're not letting you know we're in space because you're liable to blow something up. I mean, you remember, just like we judge, people always ask me, how do I judge people? I always judge people by the acts. I don't care what sex you are or color you are. I judge you. You're either a-hole or you're not. Well, that's pretty much how they look at us. They look at us the same way. Are these idiots? Should we let these idiots who are about to nuke each other right now into space? No, we should not. So I've had to give testimony to Congress twice about extraterrestrials. And I run one of the largest organizations in the world for tracking this sort of thing. Right. And I had to go in front of them twice. And I even suggested him the first time when I went. I said, if we're going to do this and you're going to make me sit in front of all these people in here, I want you to bring somebody from Quantico and hook me up to a polygraph machine. The senator lady was like, I can't use the language she used. And I'm like, yeah, so we're not going to do, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. And we're not going to have 5 asking me a question over and over and over. You can look at the polygraph. He'll either tell you I'm lying or tell you the truth. And they had a guy in there who did body language. He told her he is the most relaxed witness I've ever seen in the skiff before. He said he was just laid back, and I
Yeah,
was.
that could just mean you were trained. You already said you're well trained. Come on.
Yeah, but that's one of the things I do, though. I mean, I do lectures yearly on. I do all kind of stuff. I spoke at many colleges on it, so I was in my own element. It was really easy for me. But what got me about all of this is the lady said, "Well, how many cases do you have in file?" So we have 144,000 cases on file that have been cleared that we know are real. But we got another 100, 200,000 cases that could be anything. And she's looking at me. She asked me something about, have they been here? I said, they've been here for a while. I said, if you go back to the Sumerians, they've been here at least 5,000 years. I said, so it's not like they're here to kill us or eat us or anything else. They just seem to be here, messing around with us. And when I introduced the RH negative to the conversation, the lady flipped. She said, how do you know so much about blood? I said, well, it's a unique thing. I said, RH negative is very unique in the fact it shouldn't exist on our planet. It's a baby killer. It kills babies. But yet it seemed to come around the same time that some of the ancient worlds were talking about weird things flying in the sky. People don't realize prior to that, we were brown hair, brown skinned, RH positive. That's who we were. That's our society. How many ever million of us on the planet? That's exactly who we were as a society. Probably just A or B blood. Probably wasn't even A and B. That's just a society we were in. And somewhere, for no reason, any scientist can explain, any hematologist can explain, RH negative appeared on the scene. Poof. Now
you have to tell us, for those who aren't versed in blood language and blood type language, what is RH negative?
So RH positive is how they identify blood. So there's A, B, and O, and then A and B, and A, B, and O. So positive shares 2% of its DNA with the rhesus monkey. Okay, it's just one of the things. RH negative, it doesn't. It shares no DNA with the rhesus monkey. But yeah, we're the same species. How can that be? On top of that, if your mother is RH positive and your father is RH negative, the odds of you being born still are 80%. So it's a baby killer. So somebody a long time ago, probably about when I was in my 30s, invented something called the anti-denogen gene. So they can give you a shot now.
Wait, what? Wait, say what?
It's the anti-denogen D gene. And they made it into a shot that they can give you now so that you can go ahead and have the baby. But before that, it was killing those babies. For 40,000 years, it was killing those babies. So all of a sudden, I mean, and there's so much difference. I mean, the universal donor comes from RH negative. All of our hematological research comes from RH negative because it's the purest form of blood. So it was a gift. Gaia put us here. I got another one for you. Did you know that your biological clock is set to 24.25-hour days and Earth has a 23.75-hour day? And your optimal body temperature to live in is 73 degrees Fahrenheit, and on Earth it's 63 degrees Fahrenheit? This means you're not native, my friend.
Yeah, John, did you know?
Yeah.
So every time I talk to Joe, when he goes on these riffs, you're kind of go.
The best part that got the ladies, I looked up and I said, did you know you had a reptilian section in your brain? And she's like, I'm like, I said, I can't tell you how much money I've won off of this. People always freak out when I tell them what you do. You have a reptilian section in your brain.
I want to go
reptilian what?
A reptilian section in your brain. It's what makes us who we are.
Section.
Yeah. Without it, you would be docile and just wishy-washy, and you wouldn't. When somebody said, why don't you go this, you would just go do it. You wouldn't ask why you had to do it. You wouldn't even care.
So in all the science fiction and horror films and books and novels and stories that we've seen about this kind of thing, the government is always apprehensive of releasing that information to the public because of mass hysteria. And it begs the question, because you said you have 144,000 files or something of that nature.
Cases
that are proven of alien being here with us. If we knew who the aliens were, like John is in the conversation and he's, wait a minute, John, you mean to tell me you're an alien? It would be kind of like
Emily's the alien, but
people that are talking to or trust or whatever, go to work with every day. I think it would cause mass hysteria. I don't know.
The problem is one of the questions I was asked is, do I think society was ready for to be told? And I have to say no. Now, Americans, I would say 50% of Americans could handle the truth. The other percent would flip out, be running around with crosses and stars and God knows what in their hands. Let's be honest. South America would probably do okay because they all think they're from aliens anyway. So I don't think it'll be that big a deal for them. Africa's going to flip out. Europe's going to flip out. I don't even know what to think what Asian the hell they're going to do because only about 20% of them even believe in this stuff. So it's just the problem is when you start believing in aliens, you have to question yourself about God. And people have a hard time stopping and thinking that you could have both. You know, the Vatican's admitted that extraterrestrials are here. They've admitted they've had contact. They've actually gone as far as
saying that you got to give me your sources. You can't just say that.
Okay.
That's people
you'll love this one. This is Father Balducci Mancini was the first person I talked about. Piola Harris translated for me because he only spoke Italian. I met him in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Press Club. Not only did he tell us that extraterrestrials were real, but that the Vatican thought they were evolutionary higher spiritually than we were. They were closer to God than we were. Well, mainly they're much older than we are.
Yeah, that's why I can believe that.
You know, when you hear about them, they sound like they're a one society. There's not a bunch of different governments. There's one government. So they don't seem to be having any wars amongst themselves. There seem to be a pretty. All three of the races they talk about that come here.
Wait, what? Three?
Three. That's three. They said they were 53, but there's three. There's three that we know of that actually come here that are participating in things. We can track their crafts back 7,000 years.
Wait, you're going too fast. You got to. I listen to everything.
Wait. You know what? I'll do you a favor.
You say participating in things. What does that mean?
That's a whole show, my friend. That's a whole show. I'll have to come bring you on when we're not talking. We're supposed to be talking about you. Yes. But I do a show on Wednesday night based on all of this.
Why don't you invite Nzondi onto one of your Wednesday night shows?
Actually, what I think I might do is invite him on the chat with us and we can talk about this. So I'll have to see when you got a free Saturday afternoon because we do a show following this one called The Chat. It's an open format, talk about anything show. Because it's really popular because we let the audience pretty much decide. Like tonight, they're going to be previewing really big ass sandwiches from Italy and around the country. And oh man, I don't even think. I'm already hungry thinking about this thing. So one of my, she sends me to say this thing is this big around, man. It's full of Italian meats, it's mozzarella, and man, you're biting into it's oozing all over the place. I'm like, geez, this is a heart attack for sure. And then I'm gonna bring up some Central Grocery muffaladas, man, because I'm from New Orleans, so it's we eat down there. We're not like the people from California. We actually eat. But no, well, I'll have to have you on. We can talk about it because, you know, I love talking with authors because it's y'all see the world differently than we do. You know, really and truly. I mean, I've tried, right? Don't get me wrong. I've even managed to pump out 60, 80,000 words, but to me, it's like jibber jabber. I've taken the course a couple times. I really love their course over at writersofthefuture.com. It's really good for somebody like me. Between that and having access to all the judges, I have learned things about. I actually understand now what the gifts these winners are getting when they come spend a week with these people, you know, because you learn so much. You know, I thought I knew about being an author before I met these guys. I didn't know squat.
So you believe that there are aliens? You actually believe there are aliens?
I don't believe. I know. There's no believing to it.
This
is God, man. We don't. This isn't religion. There's no doubt. They wouldn't have called me. They testified first time I went 3 days. First day. 14 hours.
Why? But why did they call you to testify?
Because I'm the only person that knows what I know.
Okay.
It's
okay. And with that in mind, what's going on with this guy, the general that has disappeared? What's up? What do you?
People disappear all the time.
Come on, man. He has all. They said he's like one of the top experts.
But I'll tell you this much: the government doesn't know squat. They really. When I was talking to them, you could see their faces. I mean, these are incumbent senators' faces are going. I'm not kidding. This one admiral.
Who knows then? Who knows this?
Wait. I'm going to tell you, this one admiral goes, he said, you know, he looked up and he told me, he said, I blank and hate you. He said, because I was fixing to retire. Now I have to stop and think about what you just said. It's absolutely for real because you passed the polygraph and the body language. He said, so I have to take you actually serious. He said, you scared everybody in this room.
Oh.
He said, no one ever thought it was like this. No one had a clue. He said, I said, well, someone in government does because I know people in government that do know or have a clue. but it's limited. So here, like Bill Clinton had a big interest, right? He wanted to go to Area 51. You know what they told him? You don't have a high enough classification. This was a leader of the free world, and they told him you cannot come. Obama was going to ask, and they told him before he even asked, don't bother.
Obama, I just heard Obama say a few days ago that he believes they're aliens, but when he was the president, he never saw any.
Because they're not going to. They don't tell the presidents that we know. They tell. We knew Daddy Bush knew because he was head of the CIA, and we're pretty sure he told Baby Bush. Reagan knew because we knew Reagan knew for a couple reasons. Reagan did some crazy stuff. He instituted Pine Gap, which is a joint British defense of outer space based out of Queensland, still there, Australia. They're defending outer space. Dude, from what? Not from asteroids. We got other things that do that. So what are we defending from? Then he institutes a HARP facility, which is shooting these big beams up into space and punching holes in our ionosphere. Why? And then he says, you know what? We need Star Wars so we can kill the Russians. But yet he builds lasers big enough to wipe out cities. I've seen these lasers in action. They had these discs the size of my house. They would set on top of the laser and they'd superheat it and shoot it into space. That's how powerful these lasers were. And so he knew, and then he gave 7 speeches on what would happen if extraterrestrials invaded our planet. He knew something. Yeah. He knew. I mean, he knew that there was contact being made here and something was going on, and we should be prepared for whatever it is. Be honest with you, if the truth about their technology is real, there's nothing we have here that's going to even scare them.
Okay. I love this conversation. One last question. I just heard that there's for the longest time, I don't know how many years, but for many years, there's been a signal that we've been receiving for space, the same exact time. I don't know if it's every day or every 20 hours, something like that. Do you know about that? And what is that?
Well, first off, we got more than one signal, but there's one that's a laser. So one of the first things this guy said a while back when they were hunting planets and stuff and looking for signals was we were looking for radio waves. But an advanced civilization probably wouldn't be using radio waves. Lasers maybe because it's light speed at least. Even though radio waves can be interfered with. So they were thinking like hyped up lasers. So they found on their first find the planet, it was every time it would orbit, a beam would hit it about every 60 days. And they were like, what the hell is this? Well, they actually found what that was. That was some pulsar somewhere out in deep space. Then another one started hitting, and then one came in with some weird audio connected to it.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, no, it's got to be something. Because, people don't realize, but there's a lot of noise in space. Everybody thinks it's quiet, but it's a noisy place. I mean, for Halloween, we play the sounds of the planets, and some of them are just damn creepy, man. I mean, they're oh, yeah, they're great, especially Saturn and Jupiter. But, so, when all this is coming in, all this information's coming in, and then we get the WOW signal, which is the SETI's first big signal, which to date, matter of fact, the WOW signal, so what was it? What was the name of it? Oumuamua, the asteroid that came through a while back, it came from the same place as the WOW signal, the same part of space. Everybody thinks, every scientist that looked at that stupid rock didn't think it was a rock. They thought it was a probe. And then when the last one came through, they thought it was a probe. They don't think it was a rock. Both of them change directions, change speed. Asteroids don't do that kind of stuff. But yet NASA was too scared to send somebody out there because SpaceX said, we'll launch a mission. We got rockets. Elon had Rocket Man. But they said no. They didn't want to go. They didn't want to go look. Then they decided they were going to send one ahead of it and let it come around and catch it going out. And then they said no. I don't think they want. I think they're hoping whatever it is didn't recognize that we were here. I don't know how not with all the radio waves and light waves coming off our planet. But
right. So
right now, if you're approaching 100 years out, first noise you're going to hear is Hitler announcing what was it? 1913 games, I think it was. Yeah. It's the very first thing anybody ever hears from our planet is crazy ass Hitler. I mean, humans are something else. But think about it. You're traveling inward. So, you're still a good ways out. You're 7 years out from our planet. You're listening to I Love Lucy. You're thinking these humans are really weird, man. And then all of a sudden you get into the 90s and, wow, they're violent. Oh, God. You can only wonder what they think today. So, people don't realize that because they're seeing all that information before they see this society that's here today.
Yeah.
Every time
I hope they're hearing the music from the 90s because that was the best era.
There's some good music, yeah.
All across the board, from Nirvana to
There's some good music.
really, yeah.
I like grunge bands. I like good bands out of the Seattle area. Good. Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
not
God,
good,
yeah.
good music.
Anyways, so let's just segue back to Nzondi. You were here because he's an author. So tell me about the book that's right. You won an award. So what'd you win the Bram Stoker for?
I won the Bram Stoker for a novel that I wrote called Oware Mosaic, which Oware is a game in Ghana and in Africa. It's like kind of like a little checkerboard game type of. But I took it in and put it in the future, and I made it a game that was played on a neural net. And the neural net is kind of like the internet. It is the internet, but everything happens in your mind through neural connectivity.
That's what we talked about a couple of years ago when
that's
when
what that was.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. I'm working with Dan Shaw, who sold LA Law Reboot. I don't know if it's going to get picked up by Disney, but he sold LA Law Reboot, and so now we've been working for 3 years to develop that into a TV series called. Well, I won't tell you the name of the new title, but yeah, it's based on that novel. And so February 17th, on my mother's birthday, rest in peace, Mama, I released a book called Death Con, and it's the first time ever. It's my fifth book, fourth novel that I landed in the top 10 of Amazon. So that was great. It hit number 7. At first it was 9, and then 8 and 7 for new releases for the hardcover. And it's been, I don't know, almost a month later. And my buddy asked me, "Hey, where is it now?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I haven't checked since the first week." And it's still kind of hanging out in the 20s. It's in the top 20. So that's kind of cool. And in the paperback, it started out in the top 50, and I think it got to top 16. So I've never had that ever. So I was very excited about that.
So what's the name of it again? It's
called Death Con, DEATH. Where is it? Right, Death Con, right here. There's one. There it is.
Cool. Okay.
Con.
I see con.
DEATH Con, right here. See it right there.
I just see the con. I don't see the death, but anyway.
Oh, on this one, I was looking at the wrong book. Yeah, this is one right there. Okay, I was looking at the wrong book.
Yeah,
I was looking at the one on the right up there.
The one that's
it. If you send it to me, I'll read it, and we can have a chat with it.
I had a copy somewhere around. I could pull it up. But yeah, sure, I will. I'll send you a copy.
Yeah.
And it's also the first time. So it was picked up by Stark Publishing, and this book has had 3 iterations.
Really?
The first iteration was with a different publisher, and it was called The Confessions of Silver Slasher, and it was about this girl from Hawaii, blah, 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 blah. It was YA. The publisher didn't want me to do a lot of stuff with it. They wanted to keep it really clean, so I did that. And then Omnium Gathering picked it up, and it became Lipstick Asylum because it's psychological horror. And I did a little bit more rewrites to it. And then they folded. And I'm like, this is a great book. So Stark Publishing picked it up, and we worked on it a lot.
Stark, STARK. That's Mark Leslie Fave. Yeah.
Yes.
So you've had him as a guest. He's a judge. He'll be here in a month.
Yeah, I'll be there. I can't wait to see him.
Yeah.
Down from he's on the East Coast.
Yeah,
he's in Toronto. He's just outside of Toronto.
Okay, Toronto. Yeah. And so he really just embraced it, and he
loves dark fantasy and horror.
Yes, my first time having a hardcover, paperback, large print, and Audible is coming next of that book. And
cool.
So, and my girlfriend, I was riding one day from church, and I'm like, I have a chance to title it, get the high concept title. This is my last chance to make this book, get the best out of this book, and I told her what the book was about. It starts off, a horror con, on everyone's in cosplay, horror cosplay, aboard a cruise ship on the sea, and she said Death Con. I'm like, oh my God, that was way better than all the titles I've ever had. And I had some other titles in my mind. So that's where Death Con comes from. And now, because of that, I've developed a whole franchise for it. So I can't wait to be at WonderCon, because I have collector cards, like horror cards, like baseball cards, but with my franchise, posters and just a whole lot of other stuff and interest that have grown from this conceptualized universe that I've now developed, the the DeathCon universe. And and the book is really about a teenager who's evolving. I love to do books. I love to have heroines. I grew up with all women in my life, and there weren't really a lot of men. So I love to do books that deal with women who are actually, and I was a teenager. I mean, I was a language arts teacher in middle school. So I had a lot of teenagers in my life for at least over a decade. And I love
You
to
were
write.
a great man, weren't you? You should have joined Special Forces, man. I'm telling you.
And I just love writing books where young ladies start to understand that some of their vulnerabilities actually can become a catalyst for their self-empowerment, the trauma that they've been through. I really don't know. I don't think any of us know any woman that has not had trauma.
I don't. Fortunately, I'd like to say I did, but it would be a lie. Every
You don't know. I bet if you ask every woman that you know,
everyone I know has. They have. I do not know a woman that hasn't had trauma, and I was like,
has not had trauma, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I thought you were saying, yeah.
Oh no. I've met any that haven't, and there's levels of trauma in there.
I'm always interested in putting that in a teenager's, story. How do they manipulate through that, through their parents, through the conflicts in high school, through romance, and then seeing that there's something inside them that is so scary that humanity, is also fearful of what they may evolve to and how they control that. And so, DeathCon deals with a lot of those issues under, the subtext of it with all the adventure and the fantasy.
That's interesting. We were just talking about with Tim Waggoner about the whole thing with horror, and that you said horror, as a horror author, it's like, if it's a good ending, that's great. If it's a bad ending, it's great. If it just ended, great. It's just, it was just, it's great. You finish your book there, but because I like books that have a little bit of an uptick somehow, some way that you get something out of it. It can appeal to somebody and have some type of an uplift somehow, some way.
Yeah.
And the book that I read for him was a novella, The World Turns Red. And it's just, the opening scene was like, oh my God, it was graphic, horrific. And then it just like, I was like, oh man, because I have to read the book for the author for our interview. I'm just like, oh my gosh. I went to Google to see, okay, so tell me about this story. I'm not gonna be able to read it. And it said, this novella, I went, it's a novella. Okay, good. So then I read it, because then I knew I had time, because I only had 2 nights to go, because this is before doing Superstars and then Life, the Universe and everything. I had 8 books to read for all the interviews I was doing over those 2 weeks. And I had 2 nights to read his book, and I was like, so I read it. And I was like, oh, where's this going? Where's this going? Where's this going? And all of a sudden at the very end, I get it now.
Yeah.
I found my little uptick, which was like, okay, good. I could be at peace with myself and with Tim, but I'm not so much of a horror guy, but sometimes if it has, I understand it better after spending quite some time chatting with him.
Yeah.
They look at, so I don't understand what drives people to read horror. What's the deal with it? Why do you like horror?
That's a great question. And the answer to that question, is really just to put what we've all experienced in our lives. We've all gone into a bakery somewhere, a mom and pop shop. We've taken our car to a mechanic, to get it fixed. We may have had to have air conditioning, whatever it is. Each one of these people, a lot of them were born to, have, an affinity for whatever that profession is. And sometimes those professions just call to you, pastor, whatever it is, the director of Galaxy Press, it just calls to you, and your skill sets are just lined up from your experiences, what you've learned, how your mind thinks, how your mind works, how you tick, to be very good at what you do in that area, for a lot of us. a baker talks about, if you hang out with a baker, he's talking, okay, grandpa, all right, I know about bread. He talks so much about bread or pasta, whatever it is. And for me, I grew up, my father and my sister Carol, they watched a lot of horror movies, and I was around that a lot. And I remember the first few stories that I would tell to my nieces and make them scared. They were like little scary stories. And I was good at that. And I remember one day walking out in New York when we lived in New York, and we had a milkman, and I was going out to get the milk, for the little milk crate. And I saw blood on the steps, and it went all the way down our steps and went to the right, down the sidewalk, and went to the left. And my mind just, what was this? Was it like somebody trying to break into our house? Was it a criminal? Was it a beast? Was it a wolf? Was it a dog? My mind just went wild. And so it kind of called to me. And then, I think the first book I ever read was Escape to Witch Mountain by Alexander Key, And so that was the first novel I ever finished. I think I might have been 5th or 6th grade. Got it from a bookmobile, and that used to come to the school, and fun times. And so, it just spoke to me. But I didn't start writing horror, not really until 2011, something like that. I was, teaching language arts for about 13 years, and I became a director of education in New York before I came to LA, got married, and became a director at the Silver Learning Center. And I had this hole in my heart, and that's when I started writing. I met Alexandra Sokoloff and Heather Graham at West Hollywood Book Fair, WeHo, which no longer exists. I met those were the first 2 authors, professional authors I ever met. And they embraced me immediately. We traded numbers.
I could never get into that show. They wouldn't let me in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And Heather was, I think she was president of HWA at the time. She said, you should really join HWA. It's a great organization. And that was around, I want to say 2008, maybe, something like that. And that's when I started writing. And, it just took off from there. And I had to learn how to write. I thought because I was a language arts teacher, I knew how to write, but I didn't know about narration, building characters, building worlds, any of that stuff. So it just, I just love it so much. And it was the stuff I used to watch, sci-fi and horror, because just as much as I'm, I just learned recently that I'm not a Trekkie, I'm a Trekker, because,
What's the difference?
A Trekkie's like a bandwagoner. They just learned about it. They just jumped on it. A Trekker is more like a Robert J. Sawyer. Like he knows.
Yeah.
Maybe I am a Trekkie because Robert is a Trekker.
Yeah.
They know.
So have you seen the new Star Trek?
Oh, you mean the with the new Academy, that one?
Yeah, the new
Not
Academy.
yet. I still, you know what? I was
saying
really
that.
religious in watching all of them, and then I got to the latest.
Discovery drove me crazy, but
What's the newest? What's the one? before?
Strange New Worlds.
Yes, and the new season. Oh
Pike.
my gosh!
Pike is it should be a better series than it. I mean, it's better than Discovery, but it's not what it's. And you know what? Discovery's weird. I tell people all the time about Discovery. Discovery makes really good sci-fi. It makes poor Star Trek, but really good sci-fi.
Great. I love Discovery. It's very emotional. I think it is very good storytelling.
It's
a lot of my
good
sci-fi
sci-fi.
don't like it.
Well, because it like we know how the Klingon War started. It didn't start like that. The mycelia drive. Okay, we got sperm drive. So now, most people not just had issues with that all the way around. Yeah. There was just things in it, and they just mess with lore, and when you mess with lore, you get in trouble.
Yeah.
So that's why they jumped into the future, so they didn't have to deal with that anymore. That's why Academy's in the future, so they don't have to deal with that kind of
stuff. And Strange New Worlds, I got stuck at the episode before the one where it's a documentary. I'm on that episode. I can't even finish it.
Yeah.
The one before that, where it was like a mystery, and they had to figure out they went into a mystery. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of good episodes, and Spock and his wife is a little weird, but and Spock and his sister in Discovery was weird. See, that was another thing that got Discovery in trouble. Spock, all of a sudden he's got a sister. We've got 30 years of Spock now. All of a sudden he's got a sister. Nobody was happy with that.
Yeah,
I really didn't care. I got to be honest.
The new one. How do you like the new one? Looks promising.
So, okay, there's some good parts, and it's a 50-50 mix. There's some really good stuff in this. I don't want to hate on people because somebody asked me today if I'd give it a rate from 1 to 10. I said I'd give it 6.5 or a 7. It takes a little getting used to seeing the Klingon walking around in a skirt.
Wait, don't tell me. Don't tell me. I've seen it.
I won't say no more. So there's another Klingon there you're going to really kind of wonder about when you see, but there's a lot of good stuff in there. There's some good roles.
Oh my God, just Klingon in a skirt.
Oh man, that caused a lot of chaos. I'll just tell you ahead of time. I thought you would have heard by now, man.
I gotta finish. I want to finish Strange New Worlds first. I got to get through that. It's so different this last season, so it's just
Strange New Worlds is just supposed to be based on the original series. It's just it takes some leeway here and there, and Pike is how can I say this?
No, the last season was great. I like last season. That was great.
For some reason, he's gotten more emotional in this season. Now we haven't seen a new season coming out yet, but it's supposed to be on its way, and I don't know if it's going to be his last or if next year is going to be his last because they put a timeline on this. He got 10 years because he turns in, he gets not killed, but he gets maimed up real bad. Yeah. So he's stuck somewhere along the season, this season, next season. He's going to have to go, live on the planet where they let him, psychically have a girlfriend.
So to segue back into my universe, I will say that if you like the way the world building was or is in the Star Trek universe, you're going to, let me say this without being too bold, you're going to see where the influence of my world building came from, because
that's cool. There's nothing wrong with Star Trek.
It took me many, many, many years to develop this world that I'm now developing. And the book that I'm almost finished with now, that connects to the book that just came out, Death Con, which also connects to Oware Mosaic, that won the Bram Stoker. So I've now
really? Okay, so it connects.
Yeah. So I've now created this world where these beings, it's way completely different from Star Trek, of course, and maybe Avatar, but you'll see where these beings that I've created, are sophisticated as far as the world building and the different species. So I'm really proud of that, and I can't wait for that whole thing to kind of come out and everyone sees that.
I tell you what, next time you get ready to write a new book and you want to talk about strange alien beings, come talk to me. I got some stories for you, man. You can put in a book. Lord have mercy. We've actually seen some stuff, some scary stuff up close in person.
You can't just leave that like that. What do you mean?
Gotta go. It's 5 minutes after the hour. We gotta go.
Gotta go.
Past that time. We got another shows coming on. But ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna get on that note. Y'all can always come bug me in the next show, or maybe none of these days we'll talk about it. But the world's a very interesting and strange place. I don't. I've never met a pilot when I was in the Navy that had not seen a UFO, not one. And I was on two different carriers, not one. And
wait, but how many pilots did you meet? If you only met 2 pilots, that doesn't count.
Oh, no. I was the shooter on the USS Nimitz. That's the guy who launched the jets. I met every
keep
pilot.
on going away from the microphone. Stay in the microphone.
I met every pilot. And in the Navy, I probably met about 85 or 90 pilots. In the Air Force, probably about the same. And I was I was Special Forces, and I was an AEAT Advanced Avionics Electronics guy. So I spent a lot of time with planes. And I spent a lot of time with our stuff. Navy's got a very advanced fleet. Even back in the day, we were running quad-core chips in the 80s. I didn't see a quad-core chip in the civilian world until like 95 or 98. It just tells you how far ahead of they are technologically than we are. It's interesting stuff, but it's all fun and games until some alien shoots down your aircraft. Yeah. We've had people, DC, 50 years to the day that one was spotted hovering over DC. There was another one spotted hovering in the same place over DC. It was almost like, hey, don't forget about us.
Oh, there's so much to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I want to tell you my website before you cut me off.
Yeah, now we're gonna get, how do people find you?
Nzondiauthor.com. Nzondi, Nzondiauthor.com. I'll be at WonderCon in a couple of weeks out in Anaheim. If you're there, come see me. Come by the table. We got it. I think I'll go to my Instagram and I'll tell you what table it is, because we got it this morning, but then we found out that's the wrong table. So I can't tell you that I think it was 9:45, and now that's the wrong table. But yeah, come by there. I have collectibles. I'll have T-shirts, posters. It's going to be incredible. and autographed hardcover books.
And the books in to get right now is Death Con. That's your latest release.
Yeah. And you'll still be able to get, I'll be selling this book too. That's the let's see. There you go.
Oware Mosaic. Yeah, that's the one that if you scroll through my podcast, you go back to when we interviewed on this book here, you can hear about that as well.
Yeah. So thanks for having me. And
thank you very much.
My music video, which is alternative rock with a little bit of a country twang to it, a little fiddle on it, just got over 104,000 views on YouTube. It's called Eaton Canyon Falls. Come on back home, baby.
So if I just look up Nzondi, you'll find it on YouTube?
Yeah. Look under there's a couple of them, but the one that just reached 104,000 is my edited version. I edited it. It's on Nzondi Songbooks, at Nzondi Songbooks on YouTube, at Nzondi Songbooks. And it's just a little story of an old white man, telling his high school sweetheart, come on back home. We've now rebuilt Eaton Canyon, because I was 3 miles away from the evacuation fires that happened when I used to live out there in Altadena. Now I'm in Valley Village. And so it just inspired me to write a song about it. And I did. And Eaton Canyon Falls, come on back home, where we once fell in love. It's a great, great country rock song, alternative rock, if you love that kind of thing.
People, go check it out. Don't hesitate. No, Jack. His name does not sound like what's her name on Star Trek. Close, but not the same. He thinks you remember what was it? Zombie? How did they say it? Oh, the was on Picard. Yeah, on Picard. He used to call the Beta I can't think of her name. Yeah. The guy just wrote in and said, "What sounds like the same." I said, "No, one's got an M, one's got an N, man. It's not the same thing. It's not." But we got to go, guys and girls. Really true. We got to
get. You watching it?
We got to get. And thank everyone again for tuning in to United.
It's not coming in and out. I'm sure that's it, though.
That's it. And good night, everybody.